Hi, everybody. My name is Keely Jones, and I am back today with another Caring Conversations. Today, we are with the lovely Miss Katie Brown. Katie, do you mind introducing yourself for our viewers?
Absolutely. As you said, I'm Katie Brown. I am 23 years old. I currently am enrolled at Wayne Community College for early childhood education, and I am the director of Stony Creek Child Care Center in Goldsboro.
Beautiful, amazing. We love that. And today, Katie's going to share a little bit with us about her mental health journey and, whatever she's comfortable sharing with us. So, Katie, if you want to go ahead and kick it off.
Absolutely. It goes really far back. So it actually starts whenever I was 2 years old. My parents got a divorce, and I'm from a really, really small town. So that was not like common.
Right. Yeah.
So then as I got in elementary school, at 2 years old, you don't really realize what's going on. I don't have any memories of my parents being together, but as I went into elementary school, I realized I'm different than everybody else. I have this struggle that nobody else has. And so those were weird things that I was experiencing and that was never diagnosed. But because of those emotions, I literally would carry a picture of my mom with me everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. Tugs on the heartstrings. Like in my
yeah.
bag. If I had something with pockets, I would put her picture in my pocket all of the time. And so in hindsight, I'm like, that was an early sign of some attachment things, but
Yes.
think anything of it at the time.
Hmm.
So I came from, again, really small town, really small school for elementary school. We had about 250 people from kindergarten through fifth grade. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So small.
Okay.
I went to sixth grade, where between sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, there was 1,200 students.
Big jump. Big
Yeah,
jump.
yeah, I was filled all in. It was
Right.
huge. And I panicked. My first day of school, my mom was going through the car rider line, and we got to the little stop area, and she was like, "Okay, have a good first day." And I was like, "No,
No. No.
I'm good."
Mm-mm.
And she was like, "What do you mean, no?" And I was like, "I mean, you can keep driving because I'm not getting out of the car." And I just fell apart. Just yes.
Right.
So I could not, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even explain what I was feeling, but it was all of this heavy, on my
Hmm.
chest. I was like, I can't do it. So I ended up going to my grandma's house, and we eventually got there to the point where I was seeing a psychologist and a psychiatrist 3 times a week. So one of them 3 times a week. Yes.
Yeah.
And I literally had to learn how to go to school again. So we weaned me back into it. I missed a total of 74 days of my sixth grade year. So we set up, I had an absolutely phenomenal guidance counselor at my school. And every Friday, I would take my tests in her office, and then I would get all of my stuff for the next week and take it home. And my grandparents, who were absolutely phenomenal, were retired teachers. And so they literally taught me all
Oh,
of my
that's
schoolwork.
awesome. That's
Yes.
so great.
Yeah. So that was a line for sure to have that as a resource for me. But then between going through to offices and whatever, my dad, who I no longer have a relationship with, but he was saying, she's just faking it to not go to school. And so that was really, really hard on me, having somebody literally telling me, this is all made up. You're just doing it for show, knowing that, like, I could not, I couldn't function.
Hmm.
Couldn't express myself. I didn't know what was going on. So I had one community of people that was saying, let's get her to these appointments. Let's push her a little ways every so often until she gets stronger and stronger. And now I'm in college, so that worked. Yes.
Right.
But then I also had his voice saying, this is all for show and it's fake.
Well, and
So that,
that at that age too, that's rough to hear that you can't even fully process what you're experiencing and going through and your emotions, and then but you're faking it. So I can I can
right.
see how that would be difficult to hear. So I'm sorry that you had to experience that, especially from someone that is supposed to be protecting you and taking care of you. Yeah. So.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it eventually made me stronger. Like,
Mhm.
about 11-year-old Katie, it breaks my heart. But when I think about
Mhm.
23, I'm like, look at what you learned and how you grew.
Mhm.
At that time, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder and social anxiety disorder, which
Mhm.
is so funny considering now I'm in pageantry and
Right?
a social anxiety disorder is in my
Yeah.
history. I really wouldn't even say that that still applies to me as far as social anxiety as much, but general anxiety.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So fast forward, I did really well going into high school. I struggled like the first day because it's just a huge adjustment, fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
But overall, like did well, was doing really well. And then sophomore year, I met a boy.
That's never good. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's not, so it's okay. Um, I met this guy and we talked for an entire year. Like a whole year we were in the talking phase. And I guess that was the anxiety. Like, not gonna commit. I'm just gonna talk.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So then one full year after we'd been talking, we started dating. And like he was the love of my life.
Mhm.
There was nothing better that could ever be in the whole wide
Mhm.
world. Just smitten. And I was sure that we were going to be happy and together forever and ever. And yeah, so we had like a friend group. It was like me and my friends, and then all of his friends. We kind of all just merged into one big friend group, which worked out well for me. I got to hang out with my boyfriend and my best friends at the same
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
Every girl's dream.
Right?
So perfect until the day that we were at his dad's house. His dad lived pretty far away, and like something was kind of off with him. And so after like trying to get it out of him, finally I was like, "What is wrong with you?"
Mhm.
And he just looked at me and said, "I'm in love with somebody else."
Okay. Bomb
Hmm?
was dropped. Yeah.
And so I was like, "Who? Like, who is it? You have to tell me who." And he said my best friend's name.
I know. I could have smelled that from a mile away. That's just I was like, please don't. Please, I wanted it to not be true. I wanted it not to be true. I feel like I'm reading like a book and I'm like, don't say it. Don't say it.
Terrible Hallmark movie where you know what's gonna happen, but
You know what's gonna happen. And you're like, please don't let it. Just don't let it. Don't let it happen.
felt in the moment too. Like I just kind of felt like that was gonna happen, and I was like, no.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Right. So I'm getting that. I mean, that of course did nothing good for social anxiety and general anxiety.
Mental health, none of the
Yeah.
things. So it wasn't as much that I lost my boyfriend, even though that was hard. I lost the whole friend group
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
now like, they fit
That
together in
was
my
your little like outer shell is gone. Yeah. Like a
yeah
little
my
hermit. Your little shell was gone.
yeah exactly. So
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to function, and I immediately went into if I'm better, he'll come back. And I didn't really know what better meant, but the first thing I went to was I need to be skinnier.
Mm-hmm.
So then that transformed into a lot of struggles with anorexia and working out. Like I would work out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point where I was probably burning off more calories than I was consuming. Just a very unhealthy relationship with food. It was
Yeah.
the one thing I had control over was, or it felt like that was the one thing
Mm-hmm.
I had over my
Yeah.
weight, eat, how much I could work out, and then I was skinny.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yes, like this is it. This is what I wanted.
Right.
It still wasn't.
Yeah. No.
It still wasn't good enough. It still didn't make him come back to me. It still
Mm-hmm.
didn't.
And that's that surface level thing that like you just said very beautifully that I can control this surface level problem. I can control this, like I can pluck my eyebrows, but I still have genetics that cause me to have very thick eyebrows. Like,
Yeah,
I still have this already in me, so the anxiety is still there, the abandonment is still there, just because I understand the thought process because I mean, I feel like especially too at that age, like the way that our brains work is we focus on fixing the wrong thing because we don't understand that we can fix the other aspect of it. So,
Right. It goes deeper. It went
hmm
deeper than the number on the scale.
yeah,
And then ultimately that wasn't fixing anything either by any. That was not a solution.
right.
So that was really hard. And I think that it goes back to my parents had a divorce. I felt like I had been abandoned. He didn't support me through the anxiety. So the dad problems and now the
hmm
boyfriend problem,
Yeah.
lost all the friends. And so it was just really, really hard for me to cope with anything.
Did you have anything? I mean, once you started to like realize first of all that like getting skinny doesn't fix everything. Like when you started kind of coming out of the woodwork a little bit, did you have anything that like specifically helped you like coping wise? Because I know that you said when you were younger you saw a psychiatrist and like a therapist. Like did you end up picking that back up or anything? Like what was there anything specific that kind of helped you as you got older, like turned into an adult, all that fun stuff?
I did have a counselor. That was
Okay.
a counselor. I was seeing her like once every 3 weeks or so. And
Okay.
like I would tell her what was going on, but I wasn't actually like really talking to her about everything that was going on in my brain,
Right.
which you should tell your therapist, counselor, whoever, everything.
Everything. Because then they can actually help you. They can't help you if you don't tell them everything. Like,
Right. Exactly. So take that to note for anybody who's viewing. Tell them everything. Tell them everything.
that's
But
good advice.
then so June 12th of 2018 was my high school graduation. And I could not bear the thought of walking across the stage with everybody else. It felt wrong. My ex-boyfriend, I mean, my ex best friend, our whole friend group. I couldn't it I couldn't do it. So I never reached out for help. But on June 11th of 2018, I overdosed on my anxiety medicine in an attempt to take my own life. So that was my goal. I was like, again, this is something I can control. I
Mm-hmm.
can control
Yep.
if I wake up tomorrow or not. Or
Yeah.
so I thought.
If I have to go and walk across this stage tomorrow, like, yeah. Mhm.
Exactly. Absolutely. And I knew that if I just said, like, never mind, I don't want to walk at graduation, then that would be letting everybody down. So I was like, we'll just eliminate this problem and all of the other problems. And I took all of the pills that I had, which I believe was like 34 or so, just based on when my medication was going to be refilled. It was a
Mhm.
90 day. And I ended up waking up the next morning very upset. Not upset that I had done that, but upset that I was still alive because I
Yeah.
didn't want to be. I was angry and I didn't know how to cope with that. And so I literally went to my mom's room and I took the pill bottle and I sat it down and I said, I took all of these last night, but it didn't work. And I walked back out. And so, yeah, I did not mean to traumatize my poor mother like that. She's done so much for me. And in hindsight, that was awful. But I
Well,
did
I mean,
actually,
you were angry. I mean, you were a child and you were angry and that was your cry for help, though. That was
absolutely
your cry for help. And mine wasn't great either. Like, they don't necessarily have to be you sitting down, I need help. Like,
right.
we all have a different way that we go about it. And that's why we're still here. So,
We get to a point where we're like, I have no other option. I have nowhere else to turn. And I would love to encourage people to find a way to communicate that before they take action.
hmm
You know?
yeah, absolutely.
So, and we can touch on this in a minute, but that's why I created In the Silence, is like giving you the power to talk about it without it having to be awkward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, moving on from that, I eventually did get a lot more therapy. And then I just decided that I was going to have to pick up and figure it out. I was like,
Right. The
this is
switch. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
these are the cards I was dealt, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to play them. Actually, my cousin, her she dated a guy in high school. He broke up with her for her best friend, and she was like, "And look at me now." And she's in an amazing marriage, and she's like, "That is the best thing that happened has ever happened to me, because it did
Mm-hmm.
not that person instead of my
Yeah.
person."
Yeah. Exactly. I like the way she goes about explaining that. Yeah.
Absolutely, like you needed that.
Mm-hmm.
You sure it sucked.
Yeah.
It did,
And
and it,
if it didn't though, would you have grown as much as you have? Probably not. Like if it didn't hurt as bad, like probably not. Like you kind of would be in the same place that you were.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So in hindsight, I've grown, and I really think now that I've been in some dark places, close to being that dark, but not once since then have I ever picked up my medication bottle and said that this is how I'm going to deal with
Hmm.
this. I
Hmm.
take out my one little anxiety pill and I
Right.
take that, versus like going to the extreme, because I've seen what the extreme looks like and it didn't fix anything.
Hmm. Yeah. That's a beautiful piece of advice. That's very powerful to say that, because that is a message that I try to promote with my nonprofit alone, especially for like younger age, because I mean, suicide being the second leading cause of death for 10 to 14-year olds, like they don't understand that
Right.
that is the extreme, that like that's as far as you can go, and it doesn't fix anything. And so I'm thankful that you said that the way that you did. So thank you for saying that, because that's very powerful. You definitely have been through a lot, and you're 20, 23 years young, and you have already been through so much in your life, but because of what you've been through, you are able to speak on such a heavy subject. And I don't love that you have been through these things, but I appreciate that there, is someone else here as well that is trying to make a difference with their voice. So thank you for using your platform the way that you are and speaking out on this subject that is so heavy and difficult, but
Mm.
important and very impactful just as well. Um, I was wondering if you have any advice for our viewers. You've already left some great little like gold nuggets just throughout the whole video. Is there anything else that you would like to leave them with before we wrap up?
So I think that I kind of have like two sides to advice. And so the first side is for people who have been through it, for the people that have seen,
Okay.
the people like me and you. Um, I think we have a responsibility. Now, if that's too hard on your shoulders, if that's too heavy, don't let it crush you.
But
That
if you can handle it,
absolutely. Then
I like how, yeah.
use that voice, because we don't get any further. We don't change without a lot of voices saying what
Hmm.
needs to be different, and that we
Yeah.
need to be encouraging these people to speak up. Because had I had someone in my life that had really, really drilled into me how okay it is to not be okay, that's a very like cliche.
Cliche, but it's also completely accurate, which is like corny because what? But yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
So
it's okay to not be okay. It's like a Tumblr like saying,
yeah, I'm gonna Instagram caption that for
but like
sure.
it's great. Like it's fine. Like it is what it is. Like, like
It's like 5 words or something. It's okay to
yeah.
not be okay.
Yeah.
And that's how we get that voice out there, is because if we're standing in a room with 10 people, there's probably 3 or 4 that have a story somewhat similar to ours.
Hmm. Yeah.
And a good chance that if you and I aren't in that room, nobody's going to speak about it.
Hmm.
So, and for the people that aren't ready to talk about it, that is okay. Like,
Completely fine. Yeah.
your journey is totally valid, totally understandable. I don't think you should be pushed to talk about anything you don't want to talk about. Completely understandable. But if you are comfortable talking about it, speak up so that others have an opportunity to hear your voice. And for advice for the people who are still struggling, who are still going through difficulties with their mental health, again, repeating, I have seen what the deep, dark, scary looks like, the bottom
Hmm.
of the I've seen it, and it does go up from there. People would tell me all the time, the grass is greener on the other side. And I'm like,
Hmm.
that's stupid.
It's another cliche saying. Just
Yes,
another one of our sayings.
that's right. But unfortunately, it's popular because it's true, as obnoxious as
Yes,
it
it's
may be.
again, it's accurate. Like they're so corny, but they're accurate. Like they really are. Like
Yeah,
they really are very accurate sayings, and it's like I don't want to say that, but the grass is definitely greener over here.
yeah, exactly. So, and there's just your journey is not going to look the same as every single other person's journey.
Hmm.
Does make it really, really hard because you're like, no, tell me exactly what I need.
What do
And
I need to do? Hmm.
yeah, I can't walk those steps for you, but I can be support for you. So I definitely think that finding a at least one person to be a really strong support, I suggest that person being licensed,
Go to therapy, guys.
go to therapy,
Go to therapy.
because that gives you a person that is completely separate from any situation that you're in. And I've actually had somebody that was speaking to me that would come to me because I'm so open and honest about my mental health journey. And she would talk to me about self harming,
Hmm.
but she never wanted to listen to my advice. Like I would give options and I would give strategies, and she didn't want to listen to any of that, but she continued to spiral and get worse and worse and worse. And that was hard on me
Hmm. Yeah.
because I'm not licensed. I'm not here to do this full time. And I mean it took months of talking and talking before I finally was just like, you have to find somebody else, because I can be your person to lean on, your shoulder to cry on a couple of nights, but you do have to have somebody that can consistently support you.
Help you and help you. Yeah.
Because if I'm going through something really, really hard, it's going to be very hard for me to help you.
I feel like that's fair. And that can be tough too. I mean, especially like extroverted people with anxiety like we do, we never want to disappoint. We
Yeah.
never want to burden.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to be that support system, and it's hard not being able to all the time. And if they, constantly need to come to somebody who's licensed is a great idea. Like therapy is wonderful, and that can be very helpful for your relationship with them too.
Yes.
Well, and like giving friend advice versus advice that someone who is struggling needs is very different.
Yeah.
So
That can
like
be hard.
you don't want to give them like bad advice that like is like doesn't help their anxiety, or like you don't want it to go to that route, because then that at the end of the day is just not helping anybody. So therapy is definitely a very good option, and I love promoting that. Most people, even if they're like, oh, I'm fine, I don't have any problems, it is nice to have somebody to just talk to that's not connected to your family, friends, work, school, anything, that you can just chat with and like share whatever you need to share, and then like they leave you alone for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Like I go to therapy once every other week, and it's like an hour of bliss. My therapist is like my best friend, and I
Yeah.
love talking with that girl. Like she's great. So I definitely like to promote that, and I think that's very good advice to leave our viewers on. And so I definitely want to thank you so much, Katie, for sharing all that you did. I mean, you truly have an amazing story because you are so resilient and you are doing such good work. And I do want to commend you for that. And I genuinely appreciate you so much for being here with me today and for sharing your story with my viewers, because I do feel like this will help a lot of people. And hopefully, there's people out there who have been through some similar things that you have, and they don't feel so alone now because they know that they have you, that they
Yeah.
can they can see that, oh, she's come out of the woodwork. She's come out on the other side, and look what she's doing. She's doing great things. So thank you very much.
Look look at the grass over here.
Right?
Look at
It's so green. It's so green. Yeah, we love the grass over here, guys. And we love you. And I will see y'all shortly in another Caring Conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wish I could stop saying absolutely. Cut that out.
Okay. You don't have to. Absolutely is like you're ready for it. You're good to go. Yeah. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Come on. Okay. That's going to be
So,
in the bloopers at the end.
okay, perfect.